Well, good afternoon and welcome to another episode of the Coach's Corner. We've got Coach JP Immelman, Falco coach, for the first time on the show. Coach JP, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. I know we've done a couple of voice note interviews over the SA Cup, but yeah, glad to have you here today to talk about the Falco, what's happening there. Obviously, you guys have had a good season so far. Still in the running to perhaps qualify for the Curry Cup, which would be great for you guys. It hasn't happened in a lot of years, but yeah, welcome to the show. If you just want to kind of introduce yourself to the guys, and then we can take it from there.
Thanks, Renaldo. It's a privilege to be on. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Look, it's exciting. I've been with the Falco for it's my 11th season. Joined here in 2014, and I think we haven't been in the running to get into the Premier Division this late. There's been a few qualifiers over the years, and potential finish top of the log and play promotion relegation. It's the first time we're in the running this late in the pre-competition, if I can call it that. So it's exciting. It's exciting.
Obviously, we're showing the log here. You guys are placed at 6th position. I know you guys are tied with, I think, the Boland and also who's the other teams? Griffins as well. Griffins. So obviously, you guys are all on 20 points. A bit of an important weekend for you guys. Obviously, playing the Cheetahs in Bloemfontein, Griffins playing SVD, obviously Boland playing Leopard. So how important is this weekend for you guys to obviously prove that you guys can play against those top tier sides?
I don't think you're going to get a much tougher opponent than the Cheetahs to prove your ability, like you say. And look, we're looking forward to it. Since the previous week against the Griffins, in the camp, we said we're approaching every week. I mean, that's the cliche. You approach week on week and week per week. But for us, every week is a final. That's how we see it. We want to keep our destiny in our own hands as far and for as long as possible. So that's how we approach this week as well. It's a final week. We're preparing like that, and we know we have to win to keep our destiny in our own hands.
We've spoken to a lot of the kind of smaller unions, if you want to call it that, and everyone's struggling financially. It's hard to get sponsorships. The games that's being televised on television or live streamed, the quality is poor. How can this whole thing be resolved for the smaller unions to get more sponsorships, to get more players to be contracted at the Falco and the Leopards, SVD, Pumas? Everyone's got their own kind of way how they see this whole thing working. But from the Falco's point of view, where's your struggles at the moment when it comes to sponsorships and obviously getting players signed? Where are you guys getting your players from currently?
Ronaldo, I mean, look, sponsorship, I think everybody, all the non-franchises or smaller unions, as we call, it's got the same. I think everybody's got the same challenges, and you mentioned that the broadcasting, the exposure. It's difficult if you can't tell a national company, or even a local company. You can't guarantee them quality airtime, like you say. We've also, I mean, we're trying to stream all our home games because we didn't get any home game streaming allocated initially. So we're doing our sort of our own thing, obviously within the law rules of the agreement with SuperSport and so on.
Yeah.
And that obviously that helps because now you've got proof. I think our match against the Griffins, if I'm not mistaken, was viewed by more than 8,000 people on the YouTube, the Heritage and SuperSport Schools YouTube channel. So that's 8,000 people that were reached, which we don't get in the stadium. So at least that's giving us some tools to approach sponsors and say, listen, this is the exposure we can guarantee. Yeah. But I think that's the biggest thing at the moment. We've got a bit of a local focus. So we've got some local companies, East Rand companies involved. When I say East Rand, I mean all the way. Obviously, we go all the way to Vanderbijl and Vereniging and Meyerton on that side. So we've got a few local companies that's on board. Some is just service providers or in kind, and others have got a bit of a monetary input. But it is a struggle, and broadcasting and everybody wants exposure. Players want exposure, the teams want exposure, and the sponsors want something in return for the financial or services layout that they do. Look, we try to we source our player. We tried. We don't have a junior like a lot of the smaller unions or non-franchises. We don't have a junior structure. We don't have. We've got a university in Vanderbijl in the NV campus. But I mean that's 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers return trip. So we don't have those player pipelines, if I can call it that. But we've got decent enough schools. A lot of our best school players get contracted by the Bulls, the Lions, or they go and study at UJ and Wits and Tuks, which is luckily on our doorstep. So we try to take a bit of a different approach. If there's really a standout pool boy, we try to keep tabs on them and see if they contracted. In the last couple of years, we've brought quite a few under 21 or players that get pushed out by the bottleneck of the under 21 level. We get them to come back to the Volker after they've played maybe junior rugby at one of the franchises. So that's one way. And then, our other way is like most teams, you might look at the best players where you've got a gap or a need in a position. You look to fill it with the best possible. There's a lot of players that are still just looking for the opportunity and for the step up to make it onto the bigger stage, or maybe have a great season and get a bit of overseas exposure. We've lost quite a few players over the last 4 years to Portugal's, your Spanish leagues, your level 3, 4 French leagues, etc. So there's opportunities for players to use rugby to go and see the world, and if we have to be a platform for that, and that helps in our success, that's what we need to do.
And then just looking at obviously the bigger, anything that can be done to maximize the time from the likes of the Bull, and obviously the Lions and the so-called bigger unions, for those guys to come and get game time as smaller unions. I know in the past, when I was still playing in South Africa, I know there was some sort of loan agreement between the bigger unions and obviously the smaller unions. Is that something with you guys when you look at the Lions and all of those teams, or has that kind of died down a bit when you got with you guys?
No, Renaldo, it's not for a lack of trying. I know they've got their own challenges and their own pressures from performance and player performance and so on. And obviously, in order to get that right, you need all three parties to come to the table and agree on a way forward. Let's use the Volker and the Lions, for example, as the two entities, and then the player must also want to then leave the Lions and come and play for the Volker, if that has to happen. It's not for a lack of trying. Every year I'll have a chat with Cash and we'll see, or with Jake and try. But I know there's a lot in that. But look, I think there's definitely ways to optimize players getting game time. But yeah, there needs to be structures in place, and the way that a franchise and a non-franchise can sit around the table and come to an agreement around that thing. I think that will, around those things, I think that will definitely optimize, player that's fourth or fifth in the pecking order, to give him game time and keep him sharp for when he's needed, whether it's in the Currie Cup or the URC or EPCR. And I mean, imagine the Falcon. I mean, we always have these conversations. Imagine the Falcon can get 3 or 4 players from the Lions like that, and 3 or 4 players from the Bulls, and the difference it'll make in our competitiveness. And not just from that perspective, also the players that are in our system, then, they get to trade with and against a player that has been exposed to a higher level. It will lift everybody. It'll be beneficial for the whole process, in my opinion. It's my opinion, but I understand there's the red tape and challenges and things like that. In our case, we're lucky in the sense that a guy from the Bulls, he doesn't even have to move house. He can just drive from Pretoria to Kempton Park, and same with the Lions. So we're in the lucky situation that is something that can potentially easily be integrated.
Yeah.
But I think there's definitely, I think, players that can benefit from game time, and everybody, the Falca and the franchise, benefit from that player's availability and or sharpness.
Yeah. And then looking at the Falca at the moment, I'm saying Falca, the Falca. Any players that surprised you this season in the SA Cup? And I mean, how important is the SA Cup for you guys? Obviously, with all of the competitions that's been kind of cut down, how important is this SA Cup for you guys?
Look, if it wasn't for the SA Cup, I think the non-franchises, might have had to go old school amateur or semi-professional. Train only in the evenings, use local club players to do that, etc. So it's really a lifeline. Again, my personal opinion, really a lifeline for the non-franchises. But you look at the quality. Last year was tough. Last year, we haven't played against the likes of the Pumas and the Griquas and the Cheetahs in competitive. Here and there, you've got a friendly, but in a competitive environment like that, and it was tough. But I mean, that wake-up call in terms of physicality, speed, accurate execution, for us, and I think that's what made the biggest difference in our performance this year, is just the fact that we were exposed to that last year. Allowed us to realize, as coaches and as players, that listen, we need to change the way we prepare, the way we train, how we train, at what level we try to train, and that's what made us more competitive this season compared to last. But look, the SA Cup is integral, I think, and I also feel that the public and just the interest has grew from last year to this year in the SA Cup. So I think we found something, that we're establishing something that can really grow the domestic game in South Africa.
And then looking at the
And
Cheetahs.
players,
Yeah,
sorry, players. You asked about players. Look, we were lucky in the sense that we kept or we got back a lot of the core players that we wanted to be back, that know how we do things. They know Kempton Park, they know the surroundings and are comfortable here. We were lucky in that sense, which then made the integration of new players into the group a little bit easier as well from a leadership and a guidance perspective. But no, look, we player stand. It's difficult to pick individual players. We've had guys that's been with us for 3 years that made a step up in reaching the potential. That's why we've been keeping them for 3 years, and they're only realizing that potential this year, really. I mean, our tight five has been laying the foundation. Our loose trio, work rate has been really good, and effectiveness around the park in ball carries and defense. And our backline has been dangerous once they get that platform to play from. So look, it's really difficult to single players out as specifics. We've got a few youngsters that has also put their hands up, that played under 21 rugby last year for the franchises, that we were lucky enough to get on board. And it's been a revelation, the competition within the group, and that has also helped to step up the quality within the group and the quality of training and conditioning, etc.
And then looking at the Cheetahs this weekend, you guys are obviously driving to Bloemfontein tomorrow, and you guys are playing on Saturday afternoon. What are you guys expecting from the Cheetahs? They obviously have had an upset this year already. A lot hanging on this for them. They're under a lot of pressure to obviously perform and qualify for the Currie Cup. What's your thoughts on this weekend's game?
No, like I said earlier, I mean, we're playing a team that's got European rugby experience over the past 3 years, and have done really well. They've gone through a bit of a dip, I think, with obviously you look at the changes and things like that, and just getting things together. But the last game or two, they've been playing some exciting rugby again. I remember last year after the match here by us chatting to some of their management, and the one comment was like, they wanna try and start to play old Cheetahs rugby again, old Free State rugby, and we know how dangerous that can be. I think they've got the players. They've got some exciting players to play a more expansive game, and they've got a solid pack. So it's gonna be tough in Bloem against the Cheetahs. It's gonna be tough, but it's exciting. It's a tough challenge, but it's a great and exciting challenge for us.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if you look at obviously guys from smaller unions, I think having these big game derbies between the Falcon, the Cheetahs, you guys against the Pumas. I know you guys improved quite a bit from your games from last year against the Pumas. So obviously this weekend's going to be a great exercise for them to obviously see where you guys are currently performing at. So that's exciting. Thanks, Coach JP. We wish you guys luck for this weekend. We'll catch up again with you next week to talk a bit more about the Falcon. I don't know if you give your sponsors a bit of airtime and give us a bit of insight regarding who's sponsoring at the Falcon at the moment, and who's the guys that's keeping you guys afloat, just to give them some exposure. And then next week we'll catch up again with you, and then we'll see how things went.
Yeah, Renaldo, thank you. Thanks for that opportunity as well. I think to now go off my head, I might miss one or two. So I think let's leave that for next week as well, if you don't mind. And okay. I can make sure that I hit all the hit all the spots with regards to the sponsors. And yeah, look, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to join you. It's nice having a chat.
Okay, thanks, Coach JP. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, Renaldo. Keep well.